And I thought in that moment, if I was in San Francisco when I got that call and I was 3 hours away from being able to give my daughter a safe place, like I don't know how I would have recovered from that.
Welcome to Life Changing Money, a podcast all about one of the most taboo topics in the world, money. I'm your host, Barbara Strehand, and we're going behind the scenes on business owners' journeys to money, success, and wealth. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Life Changing Money. This week, we have Stacy Kaufman, and I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Was Minted your first Barb experience?
It was.
How did you even find out about it?
I think Instagram.
Okay.
And I'd followed you for a while, and making the transition from executive to entrepreneur, I thought I probably needed a different CPA, and so was consuming that content. Your content is obviously fabulous, and so I thought, well, she certainly looks more fun. And went to Minted Wealth Live, and it was so much more than tax. It was amazing. So
I see you're wearing your Minted necklace.
I am. I love it.
So pretty. We're actually designing the jewelry for this year right now.
Can't wait.
I think it'll be earrings and have something to do with our theme this year, which is riches and relationships.
Love that.
So yeah, Minted was so fun. And then what made you decide to sign up for Be Seen?
I need to be seen more, right? So I know I've been very blessed that over the last almost 2 years, all of my clients that have come into my executive advisory have been referrals, which has been amazing. And over that course of time, as I've evolved and really realized the work that brings me the most energy and fulfillment of what I want to do, I really needed to get clearer on my messaging, my ideal client, continue to refine that. And I know, one, you're so fantastic with being seen and visibility in social media, but to be able to get insights on where to start and, how to start building that. And then also, I always love being in rooms with powerful women, and you do such a phenomenal job of connecting the right people and energy together.
The room this year was so good.
It was insane.
Yeah. Everyone, we were saying during Glam, everyone this year was so genuine. Yeah.
And that's my only experience because I don't have anything to compare it with, right? But I 100% agree. And I've invested quite a bit in being in rooms like that. And that was, without a doubt, the most positive vibration type of energy of all these women together that I've ever been a part of. It was amazing.
Yeah.
So grateful.
Tell us about getting out of corporate.
Where do we start?
I don't know. What made you even think about it?
I had intended on leaving my corporate role, my last 2 contracts. I had 2-year contracts, and I thought, okay, this is going to be my last one, and then I'm going to make the move. And as someone who was
It's like the military.
Yeah.
You get like 2-year contracts and you're like, I swear I'll get out. And then they get you.
They get you, right? And I loved what I did, but the business was changing so much and the type of work I was doing had changed so much. Being in an executive position in a billion-dollar media company and all of the post-pandemic challenges that they're all still kind of confronted with. When I left, it was 8 rounds of layoffs in my last 4 years. And I was raised in a financial family where, my mom and my CPA are accountants, but they're very conservative. And the idea of a corporate job was safe. And me living that experience really reinforced, for my experience, it's not. And I felt like betting on myself was safer. I went through a divorce a few years ago, and that also really changed, my priorities in terms of, I'm a single mom, financially responsible. I have 2 teenage daughters, and there's a lot of time that I want to get back while I was climbing up that corporate ladder. And it's been such an incredible blessing. But I felt like the problems that I was seeing so many of our clients having, advising them on growth strategy and marketing and whatnot, was something that I could do on my own in a different way and actually take that muscle memory of, running news stations that run 24/7 and making quick decisions and assessing situations quickly and pivoting constantly and optimizing, that I could take that outside of the industry and help a lot of businesses that have been disrupted by tech, AI, tariffs, you name it, right? We're on 24/7. And so it's really been a blessing in that 25 years equipped me to be able to add value to a lot of leaders who really need the help today.
And what was it like to be like, okay, no more corporate job, and I'm a single mom, and I have to take care of these beautiful teenage daughters, and I have no more stability or a man to fall back on.
I had just one of those moments where something happened personally with my daughters, and I was in an interview. I was interviewing a management candidate, and I turned my phone over. I had 11 missed calls. And during the school day, right, there was something that happened at their school. It was really upsetting. And when I talked to my daughter and just heard her voice, and there was a gun scare at school.
Wow.
And it was, I mean, it's horrible that we have to think about our kids being in those situations, getting those calls, right? And I thought in that moment, if I was in San Francisco, which I was driving to twice a week, if I was in San Francisco when I got that call and I was 3 hours away from being able to give my daughter a safe place, like I don't know how I would have recovered from that. So that moment was the moment that pushed me. I wasn't really ready to make the leap, didn't have a full business
No one's
plan,
ever ready.
right? Like something in me just said, like, Stacy, this is the push. Like, that was my sign that you just need to freaking do it.
Yeah.
And stop waiting for your contract to be up and just do it. And I got those kids and mama bared them and got them home and maybe yelled at the principal, like, what the heck is going on? And I called my therapist and role played resigning and immediately came up with a strategy of how we were going to make it a win for everyone. And then I called my COO and had the conversation, and that was that.
And then what was like step one of your business?
Step one was reaching out to former clients to share, that I had moved into this business that I was starting as an executive advisor, helping them grow their companies, but also get them out of that hamster on the wheel that I felt, and so many of these leaders are, whether you're a growth stage company, you're 10 to 80 million, and now you're needing to bring adults in the room beyond your friends and family and establish operation systems. So much of what I did those last 8 years were optimizing and making those decisions of who do we really need and who can be a contractor, those kind of things. Or mature companies like media has been, like broadcast has been, how do you innovate and continue to be relevant and redefine your business model? And so it's been really energizing, but I was very blessed and I've been grateful that there's a lot of people that need that help.
Yeah.
And leading a media company, for a number of years, at any given time, we had 600 clients a year in our region. So I was very blessed that I hit the ground running pretty quickly.
So your pool of possibilities was big, which is nice.
Yeah.
Getting to reach out to all those people.
Right. But also getting to reach out intentionally.
For sure.
To choose who I get to work with now.
And the fact that you're so magnetic. So it's probably a very easy yes.
Oh, thank you.
For them.
Yeah.
Something that I think is really cool that you're already doing in your business, even though it is a newer-ish business, is like you host amazing retreats as well. But I feel like a corporate executive wouldn't normally do that.
Right.
A former corporate executive.
That is true, which is why I do it. So
what made you decide to do that?
I felt like, as many of us are, I was in a male-dominated business, right? And I am one, as you are, like, we're just going to make the table bigger. Not all women subscribe to that theory, right? And so I knew there were other women like me who felt like me, who needed a safe space to be able to be the whole person without judgment. When my now ex-husband and I separated, I didn't tell anyone for 9 months. And that's a lot to carry when I'm carrying everything else, right? But I just didn't feel safe sharing that because of the judgment that would come with it. And I don't, men don't really think about things like that. And it's a horrible place to be, right? As a leader, the higher up you go, the less people there are that you can talk to. And so it already feels isolating. And then when you're dealing with something personally, whether it's something with your kids or your spouse or your aging parent, and you feel like you can't really talk to anyone about it because it's through this layer of a lens of a title that you carry.
Yeah.
I felt the gap. And so I decided to just solve the gap and create a community for women who were executives or entrepreneurs that just felt like they didn't have that safe space, and do a couple of retreats of the year to give them a break as well and get that escape of being able to reset and realign with who we are outside of our titles and roles and responsibilities. Because when we are in alignment, the rising tide lifts all boats. It benefits everyone. It's for everyone's highest good.
Oh, it's crazy you mentioned the like guilt about divorce, because that's what we talked about when we were all at dinner last night. We had 2 tables. So at our table, someone was sharing, even though she was in a very toxic and like abusive relationship, she still held on to like guilt and shame and wanted to still stay together for the kids or to avoid the judgment of being divorced. And same with me, like when I got divorced, it was like he cheated on me a dozen times, yet still I didn't want the title of being divorced. I didn't want anyone else to have judgment on how young I was divorced. I was 25 when I was divorced. And everyone, I don't know why there's that difference between males and females, but like even in the council, there's always a couple of women like going through a divorce. And so we have a separate chat in Telegram called the Divorce Divas. And so if you have been divorced, you can enter the chat to support the women that are like going through it. And then when they're having like upcoming mediations or court cases, it's like they need that.
Yeah, that's
extra
amazing.
Support.
That's amazing. I was very blessed in a way that we have a modern family. We were together very young since we were 19. We were in marriage counseling pretty much our entire 19-year marriage. Our therapist told us to separate. I probably would have never called it. By the way, I felt like I was in an episode of Shrinking, right? Because like, I don't think they're supposed to say that.
Maybe not.
Right? But it was such a gift because, you know, she said, you guys clearly love each other. You would have never chosen each other as adults. And she said, are there other things that you did at 19 that you wouldn't do again? And I'm thinking, a lot.
Yeah.
Like the fact that I am alive and, you know, I made some stupid decisions when I was 19.
Of course, we all have.
And she said, if those weren't life sentences, why do you feel like this is? And that was so, like, such a relief, I think, for us, because we cared about each other so much. And we're great co-parents. And I can realize now through a lot of therapy at 19, I was looking for someone who would be a great dad to my future kids, which he is. I wasn't thinking about, nor did I really know who I was and what I would need as a partner. And so even in a better case scenario, I know how incredibly sad and devastating the grieving of not just the marriage, but the grieving of the family, that my entire goal in life was to never put my kids through a divorce. And then to do that, you know, I think I cried every day for a year. But on the other side, right, I'm very grateful. We are both in better places. Our kids are in great places. Like, no one wants to put their kids through that.
Right.
And I don't know that I agree with the whole kids are resilient. Like, yes, they are resilient. There's a lot of ways to say that they can build resilience, right? So I wouldn't have chosen that for them. And at the same time, they're still okay and they're still thriving. And they see both of us happier and in situations where we are more of our authentic selves. So they're almost like meeting us.
Yeah.
For the first time in a weird way. It's really interesting, but it's also been so amazing, especially they're 16 and 18. So they're old
probably
enough.
relieved. Like, kids are smarter than we realize. So they probably always knew.
Right.
And then now it's like, oh, both of our parents are happier and healthier and wealthier probably.
And they can't imagine how we were together for so long. Like, that's just how much we loved our family unit. And, you know, growing up in conservative Midwest families, like, there's no cheating, there's no alcohol abuse, there's no drug abuse, there's no, like, suck it up, buttercup, right? Like, that's kind of what you're told.
Yeah.
And so just wrapping our heads around all that was quite a ride.
Well, something else I love that you do. So you jumped right into hosting retreats when you started your business. But you also just started investing back into yourself so quickly as well. What was like your first experience with that? Like, who did you see do that where you were like, oh, I want to do that as well?
I've always, since I was in my 20s, I'm 45 now, since I was in my 20s, I've always invested in some sort of personal development. I've always just, I think that's a core value of mine, of personal growth and continuing to strive to be the best me I can be, personally and professionally. So I feel like part of it is I've just always been wired that way.
Wow. I like never knew about personal development until I started a business. Isn't that weird?
Interesting.
Like, never. I never knew anyone that like did anything to help themselves. That's bad.
Well, yeah, that's
maybe
unfortunate.
I had heard of Tony Robbins, and that was like the only thing I maybe had heard of.
I think part of
So
it,
what were you doing in your 20s?
sales. And I think part of it is that when you come up in sales, a lot of organizations, not as many today, but in my 20s, did invest in sales training. And a lot of sales training is psychology and it is growth and mindset and things like that. And so I really loved all of that. I loved the learning. I've always loved learning. And so I gravitated towards that. And I think once you start to get exposed, then you realize like, oh, there's all of these other areas that I can grow and challenge myself. And so, so I've always done it at a level. I've always had an executive coach since I was probably 25. My executive coaches today are, much more expensive than they were then, right? But like you start somewhere. And I've always seen though, every time I've invested in myself, even when it was an investment that probably like I've made a mistake on, I've still learned something where I feel like it was worth the education.
Yep. I feel the same way. There were definitely times where like the room wasn't the right room, but there was something I learned from someone else going through something, or it was someone I just met and like just the meeting the one person was worth it.
Yeah.
So I totally agree.
And also learning what to not do.
Yes. Learning what to not do. So like before I hosted retreats, I attended like one retreat every month for 2 years. So I've been to a lot of retreats and it was always just like collecting info. Some things I loved, some things I liked. Some I was like, well, I'm not doing that. And so, everything is learning. But I feel so blessed that you invested in the Council 2027.
I'm so excited for that. I absolutely, like I said, I love the power of women together, right? To get both one-on-one coaching and mentorship, but then also there's so much that we learn from each other, especially at the stages that we're at in our businesses.
Yeah.
But I believe, again, everyone should have a community. And unfortunately, there's a lot of women that don't have those spaces and there's not enough of them.
There's not enough of them.
And I think what I love, especially seeing that room, there's other women in that room too that are on similar journeys and creating their own communities and whatnot. And it's just this rising tide lifts all boats. There's room for everyone and there's still not going to be enough.
Yeah.
Right? There's just so much opportunity to support and give. And the council, I mean, I can only imagine after be seen what we have in store. I'm really excited. But I've been in masterminds for the last few years, had the executive coaches and whatnot. And I'm big on, there's so many options, especially once you get in the algorithms, right?
Yeah.
So like there's so many choices. But hiring someone who is where you want to go is so important, right? Not someone who talks about it. We didn't learn about this in a Harvard Business Review article. Like, you've lived it, you've done it, you're crushing it. I have so much that I can learn from you. That's why I want to be in the room, right? Not because you're talking about it in theory, because you read it somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think part of the challenge that people can have is there's so many options, and a lot of people are good at sales.
Yeah.
And like, how do you know that you're getting in the right room or that you're talking to someone who's actually been there and done that? And I think that's just vetting that is so important.
What's like one intention you would have for next year?
One intention that I have for next year, my oldest will be in college and my youngest will be almost in college.
Okay.
And so I am really continuing the intention that I have for this year, which is intentionally growing my business in a way that allows me to be as present for them as possible these last couple of years that we get to be together.
Well, you just did a 2-week, right? 2 weeks?
Yes, 2 weeks.
Beautiful trip
Yes.
to Italy with them.
It was incredible, yeah.
What are some business things you're instilling in them?
I am exposing them to as much as possible, including investing in themselves. Even when I started making the bigger investments, which everyone thought was crazy because it was right after the divorce, which divorces, even fair ones, are expensive, right? It's a restart for everyone. And talking about, where am I going to invest next? Am I going to, I've maxed out my 401k. Where are we going to do the market? I'm like, no, I'm investing in myself. And here's why. And we talked about it. And I asked them, do you understand? What would you do? And they're both 100% aligned that investing in yourself is the biggest return. And I want them to always feel confident in that, right? So that's one of the things. The other thing is they both work for me part-time. And so exposing them to
Which
what
is a
it's
great
like.
tax write-off,
It's
by
a
the
great
way.
tax write-off. Thank you very much. And guess what? They're 16 and 18. They're amazing on social media. Like they know how to create reels faster than I do, things like
Totally.
that. Administrative things that I don't want to do. But also it's giving them exposure to what would it be like to be an entrepreneur. And maybe, you know, there's very different paths for people that I wasn't necessarily exposed to or didn't have the confidence to pursue younger. And so anything is possible now with tech. Like they could be entrepreneurs at 16, right?
Yeah.
So just giving them those exposure to those different things and networking in a room, teaching them how to talk to adults. One of the things that I'm really proud of is we went to when there's opportunities. There was a networking event in San Francisco, and I said, you know, can I bring my daughters? And exposing them to how to talk to adults, how to represent yourself in a room, how to network, things like that. And I received so many compliments. It was so sweet on, I can't believe how great your girls are at talking to adults and holding a conversation and making eye contact. And as we get more digital, those things are going to be more important. The human connection is going to be more important. So those are some of the lessons.
Well, like Michelle's daughter, your daughters are welcome to come
thank
to
you.
our dinners.
Oh, love that.
I would be excited to meet them.
Thank you. Well, we'll be nearby soon. One of them will be, so we'll be visiting.
Where can people find you?
They can find me at stacykaufman.com is the best place. STACEYKAUFFMAN. Instagram, Stack Kaufman.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Life Changing Money. Don't forget to subscribe, and I would love if you left a review and shared it with your friends. See you next time.